So I'm so excited that you all decided to take some time tonight and be here. My name is Dr. Andrea Hazim. For those of you who don't know me, I am the president and founder of an organization called Elevate Life. And that is what we are intending to do, is to elevate life in the lives of young people, those young leaders that we like to call TLT, tomorrow's leaders, but today, not tomorrow, one day when you grow up, right here, right now for your generation. So actually my background is I'm a chiropractor and nutritionist, but when I became a mom of 3, and as they started to grow, we decided to homeschool, and that became a journey in becoming an educator and falling in love with personal growth and wanting to merge the two with that generation. So that's a little bit about how I got into what I'm doing. But Paul, will you introduce yourself really quick for the Elevate Life people?
Yeah, welcome. Hey, everybody. My name is Paul Martinelli, and I'm grateful to Victor Blanco, who's there. Victor is a friend of mine, a teaching partner, and for, oh my goodness, I don't know, almost a year, he was telling me about this woman. You got to meet her. You got to meet her. She's doing amazing work. She's doing amazing work. And, you know, when somebody you love and respect, says, hey, you got to meet somebody, you got to meet him. And he said, look, as a matter of fact, Dr. Andrea is going to be doing this like 7-day transformational training for kids. And I thought, 7 days with kids in transformation, you got to come and see it. And I thought, okay. So I did something I almost never do. I invested 3 days of my time, not just my time. I brought my wife, Holly, and my executive assistant, Megan, and we went down. And I was, frankly, I was just blown away. I'd never seen anything like it. It is, for those of you who are part of the Empowered Living community, you're familiar with the program like you're familiar with the program Turning Point. This is Turning Point for young people without the ropes. And I just watched the transformation take place. I watched kids' confidence. I watched them over 3 days just change. And then I think the real proof for the pudding for me was that I watched the mentors in the room. These are young people who have graduated, who have come back and committed to helping younger kids than them through the process. And to see them, because you want to know if you invest time, if you invest money into young people, is it going to stick? And this is sticky. I mean, the kids, young people who come through this program is sticky. So my name is Paul Martinelli. I'm a coach and speaker and trainer. I work with thought leaders, help them bring their content alive to the world. I've trained more people to become speakers, trainers, and coaches than anybody else alive. Probably 50 or 60,000 people in 162 countries I've trained to speak and train to coach. And so I know this industry. I know the content. And I know the process, and I know the passion that someone like Dr. Andrea has to have to be able to do what she does. And then I can't help myself because I'm a business guy. So I said, I want to, I started doing the math. How many people are in the room? What's this costing? And so I asked her budget. She tells me her budget. I'm doing the math in the room, and I'm thinking, well, there's no money here. How are you? This doesn't work. And I was like, okay, stop. This is my concern. My concern is that, it's not that this program won't work. It's not that it isn't excellent. It's not that it doesn't have everything it needs. It's that I don't know if it's sustainable without money. That and of course, the problem is that, the client is the young person, and so they don't have the money. And so they're reliant on parents, and most parents are stretched. I mean, we're talking about a program that for 3 days should be coming up here in a few months. It's $1,800 to put a young person through for 3 days. Now that's all their meals, that's all their hotel, that's everything, that's all their in-room training resources. So, I mean, it's economical. I mean, it's cheap for $600 for what they're getting, hotel and meals and all the training in their room resources, plus a year after mentoring.
Yes, a year mentorship program.
Yeah. But so I said, look, you need some help. And I think you should do a call. And I think if you'll just tell, like, you are like the best kept secret in the world, and people need to know what you're doing. And I think if people knew or could see what you were doing, I think that they would want to help. I think they'd want to sponsor a kid or put a child through to help you, make this scalable and sustainable. And that's why I'm here. And, obviously tonight we're gonna share with you a little bit about the problem, and then we'll talk a little bit about the solution, and then we'll talk about how you can help if you're moved to do so.
That sounds awesome. So we're going to share the screen with you for a few minutes, show you some slides. We have some amazing, pictures worth 1,000 words. So we have a few videos that we would love to share with you from the program. So it'll be like you literally got a peek inside and you get a feel for it, especially following the story of one of our students who was with me from day one. Her and her brother came, I think she was 13 or 14 and he was 15 or 16. And they trained with me multiple years. They've traveled with me to Europe, as I call it, a serving leader mission, where I've trained them to train. I'm mentoring them to be mentors. And last summer, she was my intern, and now she's a mentor. You'll see a little video about that. But let's share the screen. So you see, this is the title that Paul came up with, which I loved it. Somebody should do something. And you guys are here on this call tonight because you are the somebody who cares and wants to do something, including, I see Jonathan over there. He's one of my amazing young leaders who, my goodness, one of these days, he's going to be an amazing mentor and speaker and entrepreneur. Like, I'm just so proud of them all. It's amazing. But let's identify the problem and become the solution. So I like to tell my young leaders, and those of them on the call know, I say, you are an eagle born for greatness. You are not a chicken and a crow on a barnyard floor, scratching around with your face in the dirt. That is not who you're called to be, because that's pretty average. That's mediocre. That's what I call common culture. Look around at common culture. It doesn't look like extraordinary or excellent or exceptional, which is what they're called to be. Steer clear of the pull of that common culture. So for me, the cultural problem today is what I call the barnyard syndrome. That's the problem. I've identified that problem, spent many, many, many hours with young people. And it looks like, oh my goodness, statistics, I'll just break it down a little bit. Recently, I was looking at some data done by One Hope Ministries in South Florida, and they said that in the last 3 months, young people reported that they had experienced feelings of suicide, anxiety, depression. They had engaged in pornography and promiscuity. And this was average. This is what they were saying about themselves. The study was done with thousands of young people between the ages of 14 to 19. That's the common culture I'm talking about. Our young people are just really going through it in today's world. They don't know what to believe. They don't know where to go for truth. They don't know who they are. And I don't know if you're anything like me. I came up in a divorced home, similar to Paul's. We were talking about that on the Saturday show. A single mom, she was very angry. She hated my dad because of the divorce. That anger spilled out on us. I never saw her once apologize, ever, or be humble, or know how to have conflict resolution. And that would have gone such a long way in me being healthy and feeling good about who I was. Instead, I didn't have any of those tools, didn't find them until really late 20s, early 30s. And in my 30s, I got married and had 3 sons. And whoa, you inherit a lot of bad parenting when you come up in a house like that, and you have to undo it. So I started searching for tools. A lot of the tools, some of you, raise your hand if you've been to Turning Point, or you've been to something where you got some massive tools, right? So the difference between the before and after. And for me, one of the biggest before and afters was a simple thing like the personality types. I mean, that's so mainstream now. Actually, not for everybody. You still have to seek it out and want to get a tool like that. And then there's, of course, the difference between knowing something and doing it, right? So just because you learn it doesn't mean it gets in you and changes your life. You actually have to apply it and let it change your life. Well, seeing these young people go from being a chicken and a crow and realizing, oh yes, I'm living in common culture. And I don't have to be like that because I have discovered who I am. And they get that self-confidence and they decide to pivot and go for their dreams and their purpose. Excuse me. You could change the slide. I have my oldest son, my 23-year-old right here, Isaiah. He's always my tech guy. And he is the guy who, honestly, is it okay if I tell a little bit of our story? I always do. He usually stands up with me and we teach it together. I was ruining this boy. I think I feel like going to show the camera. So this is him. Say hi.
Hi.
When he was a early teen, I had no clue about personality types, and he's more like the chill, very sweet, stable. Those of you who know the DISC, he's the pure S, beautiful S, and I'm the D. And it was not meshing because in my world, I was like, hurry up, let's go, let's go. And he was looking at me like, what's wrong with me? Am I not doing life right? Because he's not me. And I was trying to turn him into me. Long story short, thank God for amazing tools that I was able to assimilate that, learn about myself and the world around me, in particular, my children and my husband, and then now be able to teach it to the world. You know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And there you can see Paul and Victor teaching at my program. That's a clip, that's a picture from last year. We had this amazing backdrop, and our theme last year was eagles. And it went along with the book. You could see this is some of the curriculum that we worked them through. And some of the pieces, like the stick man got in there. Paul came and taught that. And Victor did some pieces. I do some pieces. We had a lot of guest speakers. It's pretty exciting to see what happens. But really, this is the vision. And I hope you guys all join this vision because we want to be somebody who does something. But what do we want to see in this world? I mean, if we could close our eyes for a minute and picture the world, our future, because they're our future and our future is coming for us. We can't avoid it. So let's train it up the way we want it to be. Serving leaders, confident in their identity, that they know who they are and whose they are, and locked into that great purpose, their unique purpose, why they're on the planet. So let's take a look at this video of one of my students I was telling you about.
This year I came back as a mentor, and that was amazing. For me to come back and pour back into these kids was something that I really cherish because I've been so poured in. It's just been honestly life-changing in the sense of who I am, my purpose, and going into college and leaving my family and the atmosphere. It's been really powerful for me because I've been put in a lot of situations where, you know, it's like I need to know who I am, and the lies that I believe don't affect me anymore when it has in the past.
We saw students walk away and say, you know what? I don't have to do this alone. I can ask for help and I have value. And that was just amazing. And like, my voice is heard, my voice matters.
I feel like everyone gets something out of it. The kids get something out of it. I get something out of it. The people working tech and administrative things, and even the parents.
I'm stepping into this new role that it's growth for me. You know, I'm growing into that leader. Like, it's the next step of like literally serving leadership.
It seems so simple, like just give them permission, give them space to let their voice be heard. It sounds so simple, but where do we see that play out anywhere in our society?
If you're passionate about encouraging the potential in young people, then this is an outlet for that. So you get to pour into these people and see how they go out and they shine, and you're just there to boost them. But it's something that is so fulfilling, and serving is just such an important part of life in general, and it's something that you get filled without even knowing it.
I don't know about you, but that just is so exciting to me to see these young people stepping into that greatness that I tell them is in their life. So what we've designed, and can you see it on the screen? Are they seeing the solution page? Okay, so for 9 years, this is our 9th year, we have been doing what I call TLT, Tomorrow's Leaders Today. And we've been doing it in a 7-day format. But this year, with Victor and Paul's help, we are crafting it to have a level 1, which you see here as says TLT Stand. And that's a 1-year mentorship program with a 3-day launch, 3-day, 2-night launch at the hotel in Pompano Beach. And then from there, they're eligible to go on further. And of course, we stay connected with them all through the year. And some of the benefits of them being connected with me and my organization is, number one, having a mentor. And two, we support the families. Last year, we piloted these programs called Elevate Life Nights, where we were teaching the parents some of the tools. So it was like, take a session out of TLT and come and experience it, parents, because I really want to see that bridge being gapped between parents and children. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the scripture that says that turning the hearts of the parents to the children and the children to the parents. I 100% feel commissioned to do that. I've been working with teens for 8 years, but really now I want to bridge that gap and support the parents as well. The funnest thing, like Juliana, you saw that video, when she came year one, she couldn't wait to go home. She took her book, she sat her family down, and she taught them the love languages. She taught them personality types. I mean, she was a born facilitator. It was amazing. And and then they started a tradition that we do at TLT, which is when you pour words of life into somebody. So we have cards they write each other all week, or they say it out loud. They did it to Paul, and they'll start out and they'll say, the greatness I see in you, and they'll fill in the blank. So now it's like a birthday tradition. Any of my alumni, if you'll see at their birthdays, they'll go around the table. And that's the true gift, is hearing words of life, because they matter, their words matter. And there's nothing more powerful than when they take a microphone. Every morning we have shares, and it's their session. No one else is allowed to talk. And boy, do you hear the heart of their generation. Do you see, like Paul was saying, day after day, you're seeing them. And from night one, they're cracked wide open. We do the board breaking. Where are you stuck? Where do you want to break through? This year, the second night, I haven't told Paul or Victor this, we're doing Dare to Dream. So the first night we're going to break through, and the second night we are going to dare to dream. And it's just this amazing picture. So then we're going to take them to level 2, which is the lead. Lead is 7 days of guest speakers. We do a cooking competition, which is really a fun way for them to have team achievement, right? They have to learn how to work as a team, and a fun way to do cooking. So the girls cook for the boys cook for the girls. We do a lot of fun, interesting activities, ropes courses, things like that. That's a 7-day level 2, and 6 different years. Like I was showing you the book, I've been working on 6 different books. So literally a student can track and go through 6 different levels with sub themes like health and nutrition. A year before we did money literacy and entrepreneurialism. We have different business people come in and speak. So different levels of 6 different years of the lead. And then they can do the serve. And the serve, I created a program called Travel Ambassadors. And just in March, I took 30 students to Israel. A few years ago before COVID, I took 14 of them to Europe for 21 days. And they taught in schools in Scotland, in churches in Italy, the personality types. I mean, to see young people step up and to teach a workshop. I mean, they were scared, but that's okay. You got to do it afraid, right? And then they get to like it. They're like, oh, I guess it's not so scary to be on a microphone or stand in front of a room. So you can change it. Here's some of our facilitators. All of them are on the call tonight. Where's Laura? Wave, Laura. Laura is our board chair of Elevate Life. She's also one of our facilitators. She teaches personality types and other things. And Victor Blanco there, he's a master facilitator. My handsome hubby, Dr. Jeff, where are you? I don't see him in the gallery. He's out there somewhere. And Paul, thank you, Paul, again, for coming and playing in our arena and wanting to come back again this year. It's so exciting. Would you guys like to see the promo for this year and see the whole overview of the program I just explained? A video? Okay, go ahead and roll that video, Isaiah. This is my favorite. And this was produced by one of my students. He came at 15 and he's never left. He's on my board. He's only 23. He's our media chair. His name's Danny DeBrinket. He has a film production company now. And every video you see of mine, he's produced it. So let's take a look at his. So exciting, coming soon, July 16th through the 18th. That's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday in Pompano Beach. This stand piece, which is the launch of the one-year mentorship program, is going to be an event that will travel around the country. It'll be able to come to any city, any state, any time of the year, and it will be that level 1 feeder program to take them to the next level to come to the leadership program, event. That's a 7-day event. So this is the postcard. I think we'll be able to put that in the chat. Probably tomorrow we'll send out an email to everybody as well with any of these things. And so those are the dates. And, I just want to talk about really quick what we've seen, our proven results. If a parent, an educator, a coach, a grandma and grandpa, a lot of them do sponsor their grandchildren. If they see things like an increase in somebody's identity and self-worth, what is that worth? Or an increase in their faith, their increase in their confidence, their attitude, right? Mom and dad, don't you want to have a good attitude in your young people, right? Or increased ability where they can, just feel confident to do the things in their world to have success later in life. And how about a decrease in anxiety, a decrease in depression, and on and on and on. I don't know if any of you have experienced these things with your young people in your homes or friends of theirs or relatives, but it is very challenging when you have a young person who is self-medicating and self-harm and suicide rates are going through the roof. Schools don't really know what to do about it. They say that they've added social and emotional learning to their curriculum, but I just found out recently that it's been a little bit hijacked with some agendas. And I was talking with a lady at a trade show. I had a booth at an educators conference, and she came up and I said, oh, I do social and emotional learning. And she got very mad. I went, wait, what do you think I mean by that? And she said, that's critical race theory. I said, oh, no, that's not what I mean. I said, no, I'm talking about personal development, things like personality types and breaking lies we believe and get rid of stinking thinking. Wouldn't you want that for your child? Oh, well, the school board has now called social and emotional learning, hidden in their other agendas. So not that kind of agenda, the true agenda that really helps people become mature, emotional adults. I like to teach a session where they learn about the emotional stages of development. And when they see on the screen, going from an emotional infant, now your body may be growing, but emotionally, are you stuck at an infant who's like, I want what I want, right? Isn't that what an infant does? And then going a little bit older emotionally to being an adolescent, like a little toddler, and they want to push over something and have bad behavior and stomp around, or an emotional adolescent, a teenager. What do you think they say? Don't tell me what to do, right? I was stuck there for many, many years. Don't tell me what to do. And I tell the teen, I relate to them like this. I tell them my story. But an emotional adult is somebody, and this is what society needs. This is what I want us to be, somebody to do something, like be this person and help me train young people to be this kind of person. An emotional adult is somebody who can have empathy. They can look at somebody and feel what they feel. They can realize that a thought or an action they may have will have a ripple effect in the world. It will actually affect somebody, maybe not for the good. And an emotional adult will course correct and care about how that will affect somebody else and choose to prefer somebody else. What we see in the world is too bad for you. That's what I'm doing. Sorry how it's going to affect you. And you could see the state of our world today. That's what I call common culture. Let's cancel common culture. You know that cancel culture that everybody talks about? I've been canceled. Let's cancel them. Did you know Dr. Seuss was canceled? I love Dr. Seuss. I read that to my kids their whole lives growing up. I've been collecting the books before they disappear one day because he's been canceled. So what we need to really cancel is common culture and immaturity, emotionally and spiritually. Let's get some tools to these young people so they can soar. So change the slide.
Hold on.
Here's what we're asking. And I think, Paul, you may want to
just go back to that. Go back to that last slide.
Okay.
Because I think this is interesting, because these results these numbers are from the people who've gone through the program. And so these aren't just statistics of, what happens to people who experience this. These statistics are from people who did experience this, who went through this course of curriculum. And for those of you who are part of Empowered Living, you've probably, if you're at Turning Point, you'll remember the 3R exercise. And although the video that we just saw it's nice and it's motivational in nature, it's truly not representative of what happens that I saw inside that room. It is a hard, curriculum. These kids are in a session for 2 or 3 hours in a process. So again, those of you who've gone through, SCI seminars, Landmark Forum, any of those types of programs or Turning Point, that's what these young people are going. I mean, the young people went through the 3R exercise, so, if you were at Turning Point, that's 3 or 4 hours. So although they certainly, make sure that they have fun and they get time to, to decompress, most of this is not camp.
No.
I don't want you to think that this is camp.
No.
This is anything but camp. This is far from camp. This is hard work. I mean, when they come, the first thing they do is their cell phones go in a box and they're gone, right? And they don't have them for 7 days, right? And they are in session day and night, and it's incredible. Go ahead. You take it to the next slide, because again, I don't know. This $1,800 is what you were doing for the 7-day program, was the cost for the 7-day program. And when I went over your numbers and I said, Dr. Andrea and Victor and her husband, Jeff, and Victor came in with his wife and Holly and I, and we spent a weekend looking at this. And I just said, you just can't do this at these numbers. And so rather than raise the price, what we did is we recreated the program to be able to do it in 3 days, so that it remains affordable at $1,800, and there is some money to be able to fund the next step, because Dr. Andrea cannot be spending 80% of her time on the corner with a can, trying to get coins. We've got to get, and so, eventually we will look for, an angel donor and somebody who will create an endowment of a couple of $1 million and fund this thing forever. But anybody who has gone through any personal development program, anybody who has had, their light switch turned on, right? Where you go, you see Les Brown or Zig Ziglar or John Maxwell or Dr. Cialdini. You see somebody who makes you think differently. And, the first thing you want to do is you want to tell everybody. And then what you want is more of it. And then what you want to do is you want to bring it to kids. I've traveled all over the world as a speaker and trainer. The number one question I get from the audience is, do you have anything for kids? We need this in the schools. We need this. Somebody should be doing something. I'm like, yeah, well, somebody should. Well, Dr. Andrea is doing. And the reason why we don't have programs for kids is because there's no money in it. There's no money and there's no thank you in it. It is thankless work. Dr. Andrea and her team, they are angels on earth and nobody even knows about them. Again, there's just not money in it. So here's what we're asking. We're asking, one is, if you could sponsor a kid for $1,800, that'll put a kid through the 3-day program, that'll pay all their hotels, all their meals, all their in-room curriculum, all the teaching, everything, soup to nuts, and a year after program. If you've got a young person in your life, you think, you know what, I'd like to send them, come. If you just like to see this, pay the $1,800 and do what I did, sit in the room for 3 days and be blown away. And for some of you, as Dr. Andrea said, this is going to be going to cities. She's going to license this 3-day program. So for some of you, if you'd like to have a pre-done program with, top of the line quality resources. I mean, really good in-room resources. She's got the model done. For others of you, you can't do the 1,800. You can't, you're not going to, you don't have a child in your life. $600 pays for one kid's day. Could you pay a day? Could you donate just one day for a kid? Pay a hotel room. You pay their hotel room and meals for a day. And so that's really the ask. The ask is if you've got a young person in your life, send them. If you'd like to get closer to the fire, come and see it. If you can't do either of those, could you do a day or any portion of a day? And then lastly, there's some of you that have a lot of skills and talents. You've got curriculum development stuff. I look at just, who's on the screen, and some of you are phenomenal facilitators. Others of you have the gift with admin work and tech work. Maybe there's a way that you could, join the cause and help and serve. So I think there's a way for everything, for anybody who wants to assist and help. But, it takes money to do this. And that's really the main call. I think this is super important to do. And again, I was really blown away. Holly and I and Megan, we'd get down there in the morning and we would watch the shares for the first 2 hours. And if you weren't in tears, there was something wrong with you, because these kids were breaking through some really bad stuff that has happened to them. I mean, just sexual abuse and just physical abuse and emotional abuse, and you just hear it. And for me, it just, it activated all those old cells of recognition from my childhood of the abuse that I suffered. And I think, my God, I wish I was a 15-year-old, I wish if I was 15, I had this. I wish I had this at 15. And so, and then, we would watch it, then we would go to lunch, and this is what we would talk about. We would talk about, like, oh my God, did you watch that? And watching Victor Blanco in the room work with young people, doing the exercises and the transformational stuff, and just the internal processing, getting them to change their thinking in real time, and seeing them all of a sudden having what was subconscious become conscious to them. And they're like, oh, seeing them come free in the room. It is incredible. So that's why I wanted to jump on. That's why I wanted to, I rarely, go to my community and say, hey, look, here's an opportunity for you to give. But this is something I'm going to be involved in. I stand 100% behind. I think it's amazing. So if you've got a young person, a niece, a nephew, a grandson, a neighbor kid, somebody that you think, a kid that could really use just a little bit of direction, somebody, when we talk about, common culture, this culture of average, the problem is that people don't stay average. The law of vibration is very clear. It's this, it's either you move forward or you move backward. It's create or disintegrate. That's the law. And so what happens is when the culture is producing average, what ends up happening is if you don't move forward, you go backwards. And that's what we see is happening with young people today, is they're just slipping and they're lost. And man, there's very few programs like this to go in and that go down in and pull them out. And then most importantly, and what sealed the deal for me is that it doesn't end on the 3 days. Transformation is not an event; it's a journey.
Right.
And the fact that I several times I've taught thinking. When I went down, I bought every single one of the kids a hardback copy of the book Think and Grow Rich. We did a teaching in Think and Grow Rich, and then they did I don't know, like almost a 6-month study on the book of Think and Grow Rich, and I was able to jump in and teach a couple of those sessions. But for a year, they walk with these young people, and it's critically important. So, Dr. Andrea, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I think they've put some of the links there in the chat. I think they put the link in the chat. So,
Yes, I want to just show and highlight what Paul was saying. if you were on the Saturday show, you might have seen this, but here's an example of the breakthrough. Like literally, like when you're doing transformational experiential pieces where you're out of your seat, your body's engaged, and it's not just a note in a book or a session that you heard and whatever small percentage of takeaway, but you're in it, right? You're totally in it. So this student broke through laziness, disrespect, and procrastination. And then we had a girl who broke through insecurity and unhappiness. And if that doesn't speak to the generation, but then to have it be reversed in another activity, and this year we used the stone, this particular year, where they said, I am bold and confident. And usually they'll do like 3 attributes, and I'll say like, where are you stuck? We break through it, and then now reverse it. So if they're lazy and they broke through laziness, now let's say who you are. I am a confident, diligent, conscientious young man, and create what is the opposite scenario of where you've been stuck. And not only that, like identifying why. I know for me, I ended up I've been married for 24 years. Before this marriage, I was married for 1.5 years in a physically abusive relationship. It was very devastating. And when I came to after that and self-assessed and learned about myself and through a lot of these kinds of teachings, I realized the reason I did that was because I was believing lies. I defined myself based on things that happened and a wrong interpretation of it. And honestly, what I discovered was my parents were divorced when I was 6, and my father got married 3 more times. And we really didn't get to know our stepmother. So it was kind of like, here's your new stepmom. And I built up such resentment and bitterness towards my dad, which wasn't hard because my mother hated him. So she was pretty much training me to hate him. So I had double reason to hate him. And I did not want to live that way. And I had to learn to overcome that. But besides overcoming the hatred and unforgiveness and realizing that that's acid, I'm a chiropractor nutritionist, so I'm always teaching about prevention and health. Well, hatred is just as bad as a Red Bull or McDonald's. But, I didn't know how to overcome that. And really, I realized that I did not believe I was worth the relationship I had now. I didn't believe it. Because after that divorce, I read a book called Knight in Shining Armor. Now I have all the young girls read that book. And in the book, she puts you up to interviewing who you're going to be with, because they're like the CEO of your life. And these companies interview CEOs with background checks and psychological testing and rounds of interviews. And you're just going to be with a guy. Why? Because he's cute or he dances good or like some dumb reason, and not because he meets a criteria that you've predetermined of this is the bar and I'm not going to settle for lower than that. So I actually wrote my list. And after I read that list, I wasn't wholeheartedly knowing my identity yet. And I looked at the list and I was like, this doesn't exist. And if it did, that guy wouldn't want me. How terrible, right? But I see, and obviously I've overcome it, healed, have an amazing marriage, incredible. But to see these young people struggling the same way, why? If they can learn who they are young, oh my goodness, I will do anything till my dying day. My husband and I met on a mission trip, and he said he knew I was his wife when I said to him, I want my tombstone to say, all used up for God. So my young people know that I will do anything. I'll write them letters of reference. I'll work on their resume. I'll connect them with a job opportunity. I will do anything and pick classes for them in high school or college, like a guidance counselor. Like, it doesn't matter. But that mentorship piece is really, really so special. If I would have had a mentor, somebody who could have done life with me, maybe like a big brother or sister or an aunt. I did have an aunt. My aunt, thank God, saved my life because of our talks. And she actually taught like a lot of these seminars that I went to. So she was really the first one that started to seed getting rid of lies we believe. And it made, some impact, but there's nothing like going to an experiential event like Turning Point. Turning Point was amazing. I loved how Paul took such care and attention to the 3 R's. And learning and identifying, because I've done the 3 R's before, but I never spent the kind of time that Paul did, where he kept saying, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Like, now's the moment, get rid of it. it's easy to just go, oh, sure, here's where my resentment is. But to go deeper and the question behind the question, that's where true breakthrough and then long lasting, positive effects in our world can be. So let's see how much time we have left. Did you want to say something, Bob?
Yeah. Could you give the dates?
The dates are July 16th to the 23rd. And I don't know if it went in the chat yet, but Isaiah will show the postcard on the screen. So this is what it is. If you go to the website, tltmovement.com/TLT stand, because that's the name of the event. You can get to it also through tltmovement.com, but if you want to go straight to the event, it's /TLT stand.
The links are all in the chat, and we're just asking if you're ready to do it. We would love to have your support. Again, I'm going to be there. Holly and myself and Megan will be there. Again, for $1,800, maybe you want to just come down and sit. And then for those of you who have an interest to maybe bring this as a toolkit to people in your area, we're going to be talking about a licensing opportunity. So thank you, Dr. Andrea. This is fantastic.